During the 2020 election, voting by absentee ballot made up about a third of all ballots cast. It was a very popular option during a pandemic, but now the rules have changed significantly. We talked with our Elections Director, Janine Eveler, about what has changed.
Well, there are a lot of changes. The new law that's gone into place this last session has changed a lot about absentee balloting, starting with how you apply and the time frame in which we apply for the absentee ballot. We used to have up until 180 days that we could apply for an absentee ballot, but now the time frame is much shorter. So we cannot accept an application for an absentee ballot unless it's the 78th day prior to the election. And we cannot accept an absentee application after the 11th day prior to the election. So basically from 78 days to 11 days before the election, that's when we can accept your application for an absentee ballot. For the upcoming November 2nd, 2021 general and special election for the cities and for the education splost, that works out to August 16th through October 22nd. So we have the application on our website, and you can fill it all in. It's got a fillable field, so you can type up all of your information, but you do have to print it out and sign it, and then you can send it into our office. There are instructions on the website that tell you where you can send it. You can mail it, you can fax it, you can scan it and send it in an email. The new application is much more complicated looking, but it's really not that complicated. The fields that you have to fill out are they say required on it, and then there's a lot of other information for special circumstances. But if it's just you're applying as a regular voter, you don't have anybody applying for you, you don't have to fill out any of the rest of it. So we'll go through a little bit about how to apply for it, how to fill out the application, and so you'll see all of the different fields. You do have to include your driver's license number or a state ID number that you had from DDS if you don't have a driver's license. And if you don't have any of those items, then you can make a copy of one of the other allowed IDs and attach that to the application. So on the application for the absentee ballot, we will already have the date on there, and you'll just type in your first, middle, and last name. And then if it is a primary, which we aren't having a primary until next year, you would select the type of ballot that you want, Democratic, Republican, or nonpartisan. Then you would fill in under number 4 your address, and this is where you're registered. So fill in that registration address. If you want the ballot to be mailed to another address, it does have to be an out of this county address. So it's a temporary out of county address. You can fill that in as well. You would put in your contact information, your phone number and or email in case we need to get a hold of you. And then this is the new part that's very important. Under the item number 7, you will have to fill in your date of birth and your Georgia driver's license or state identification card number. Now, if you don't have either of those numbers, then you would check the box that says, I do not have a driver's license or ID card, and you would include a copy of one of the other IDs that's available for voting, such as a military ID, a voter ID card, a tribal ID, or some other item that's allowed. And those are on our website if you need to check that. And then very important, once you fill it all in from the fillable PDF that you can see online, you have to print it and you have to sign it with a regular pen and ink signature. And then you would take either a photo of that and email it to us, or print it out and then send it in through the mail. So when you mail your ballot back or you hand deliver your ballot back to us, before you seal it up, you have to put on the oath envelope, you have to sign the oath, you have to write your name, you have to write your birth date, and again, as we talked about in the application, you're going to need to put your Georgia driver's license number or state identification ID number. If you don't have any of those IDs, you can also put the last 4 digits of your Social Security number, and this will be on a new type of oath envelope that is going to have a flap so that that information that's private to you gets sealed, and so that the mailbox, the postal office, anybody else, they don't have access to that information. It'll be sealed on the envelope flap. Once we receive your application, we'll be mailing you your ballot, but we can't mail the ballot out until 22 days before the election. And so for this November election that's coming up, that works out till October 11th. So, you know, you'll be waiting and waiting for that ballot after you apply for it, but just be patient. We'll be mailing them out on that 22nd day before the election. Now you've gotten your ballot in the mail, you kind of want to do a quick turnaround on that, because the way that you would get that back to us, and we do have to receive it by 7 p.m. on Election Day, the way you get that back to us is either through the U.S. Postal Mail, as you would have before, or you can hand deliver it. And you can hand deliver it to the main elections office. There's a box in our lobby, and that's available during operating hours. Or you can bring it to an early voting, advanced voting location and hand that to the clerk that's at that location. People are used to the old way where you had 180 days before an election you could submit for an application. But today we are starting to get those applications from people, and again, we can't accept anything until the 78th day before the election. So we are rejecting the applications. If you send it in too early or too late, we have to reject it. They will get a response back from us, however they have submitted it. If they emailed it, they'll get an email response saying that their ballot was or their application was rejected. If they've mailed it in or submitted it some other way, as long as there's contact information, then we'll send out either an email or a letter in the mail.
There's a lot of information here, but it is all on the website at cobbelections.org. Please check it out before you apply for that absentee ballot.